MMAPlay365, I'm Newsome, and I'm here to give you the Blaydes AI recap from last weekend at UFC Columbus. The Blaydes AI UFC prediction software, I think, did really well. 7 out of 12 predicted fights correctly. Now, that's 58%, which again is lower than what we like. You've got to consider is a lot of underdogs won last weekend. It was one of those freak events where just plenty of underdogs were sailing in. So to actually predict 7 out of 12, the AI did really well. And we're going to run through some of those predictions a little bit deeper right now. Now, usually with these AI prediction recaps, there's always a gem or two inside there. So fighter to win via submission in round, it to be something along the lines of plus 150 that's turned out to be a plus 1600 betting line at the bookies. But there's actually none of that, or there was none of that last weekend. So we are going to solely focus on the underdogs because that's where the AI did really, really well last week. So the first fight that we're going to jump into was actually the first fight of the night, Saldana versus Bruno Souza. Now, Saldana actually opened up a favourite in that fight. All the money came in on Souza. Saldana ended up roughly around a plus 120, plus 130 underdog. Now, the AI predicted Saldana to be winning at 64%, which odds implied is minus 178. So, like I said, if you'd waited on the line, you could have got plus 120, plus 130, or even if you had jumped a little bit early and took even a pick 'em at minus 110, there was plenty of value there. So that's underdog one that the Blaydes AI predicted correctly and had good value for as well. The next one was Mattheus Nicolau, which was actually the Blaydes AI underdog of the week at MMAPlay365 as well. Now, this was actually also given out as the free prediction. We run a poll on Twitter every single week, so people can vote for what free prediction that they want from the AI in that week. Mattheus Nicolau versus Dvorak was that fight. Nicolau was predicted by Blaydes AI to be winning at 60%. So odds implied, that's minus 150. And again, the odds were just really strange for this one. I actually really agreed with the AI with this prediction. And you could have had Nicolau again at plus 120, plus 110, you know, if you'd jumped at the wrong time, maybe plus 100. But like I said, there was plenty of value there. The AI saying that Nicolau should have been a favourite. He was an underdog. So again, another correctly picked underdog there. Then the next one, we've got Sara McMann versus Karol. Now, this is a really good one. Sara McMann, the Blaydes AI predicted to be winning at 54%. So not massive into the 60% or anything like that, but still, that's odds implied at minus 117. But you could have actually had McMann on the closing line at plus 220, but she was floating around plus 200, plus 190 for the most part. So again, just plenty of value with that prediction from the Blaydes AI UFC prediction software. Now, the next prediction we're going to run through was actually an incorrect prediction, only just from the Blaydes AI UFC prediction software, but it's Max Griffin versus Magny. Now, the AI said that Max Griffin would win this fight 51% of the time, which odds implied is minus 104. But actually, you could have had Max Griffin at plus 240 on the betting line. So I know he lost, and I believe actually it was so close that even Dana White paid Max Griffin his win bonus because I think he believed he won that fight. So it was that close that, you know, the underdog was the right side to bet if you are having those value plays. So like I say, odds implied, the AI said that Max Griffin should have been minus 104, but you could have got plus 240 on the betting line. Again, just a lot of value there, even though it was an incorrect prediction. And then the next one is Marc Diakiese versus Viacheslav Borshchev. Now, I obviously knew that Marc was coming into this fight to wrestle and to use his jiu-jitsu to, you know, Marc followed that game plan perfectly. Obviously, the AI didn't know that though, but the AI still had Marc winning at 54%, which odds implied is minus 117. Now, the odds on Marc, if you'd got in there really, which I did, you could have got around plus 165, plus 160. But even after the betting line had settled, you could have still got a decent line on him at plus 130. So again, that's another good, solid underdog spot from Blaydes AI. And then finally, again, this was another slightly incorrect pick, but again, terrific value on the betting line. We've got Karol France versus Askarov. Now, the AI said that Karol France was going to lose the fight, 47%. The AI said that Karol France wins this fight, which odds implied is plus 113. But actually, you could have got plus 350 on Kara France, and he did actually win the fight. So it was an incorrect pick from the Blaydes AI. Blaydes AI said that Askarov was going to win the fight. Obviously, he didn't. But if he'd have took that value spot and thought, you know, that AI is picking Kara France at 47%, and he's plus 350 on the betting line, you know, there's a lot of value in that. And again, even though it wasn't a correct pick by Blaydes AI, it knew that that fight was going to be much closer than what the bookies, the public and the betting line was suggesting. So all in all, from Blaydes AI this week, I'm really happy with the predictions, with the performance, plenty of underdog spots, and even the two that I mentioned with Max Griffin and Kara France that the AI didn't get correct. It was saying that the betting line should have been much closer than what they should have been. So again, if you are having those value plays, then those were the sides to be on. The Blaydes AI was right in that respect. And that's all for this recap from UFC Columbus for Blaydes AI predictions. We are going to be back in a couple of weeks. There's no UFC next week, so that means obviously there's going to be no UFC recap for the Blaydes AI UFC predictions, but we will be back for UFC 273 the week after that, recapping those predictions from Blaydes AI. Thank you for listening. I'm Newsome. We'll see you next time.